The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Doc Mark and Chorus, the Little Mummy, here to bring you another episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't.
So, Doc, I was thinking of ways for you to up your viewership. And maybe one of them would be, have a quote at the beginning from the president. Like, the president of the United States, your show opens and you have a quote.
Great idea, Chorus. And coincidentally, I happen to have a quote here from President Joe Biden.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to excuse me.
Well, it sounded like it.
Well, Chorus, maybe we should just start horror news.
Good idea, Doc. Good idea.
Life's river shall rise, she said, but the only the strong shall survive, she said.
And the horror news intro by Collective Soul, She Said, as it appeared in the end credits of Scream 2. Parker Finn, director of Smile, is planning the remake of Possession, the Sam Neill film, which took me the longest time to see. I did not see it when it came out in the 80s. Finally got the opportunity to see it on Shudder and was highly, highly disappointed. I don't know what people saw in that film, but as I've said before, any film that deserves a remake should be a film that wasn't so great to begin with, although I know people are probably heavily disagreeing with me, but that's just my opinion. Eli Roth's Thanksgiving will be getting the board game treatment. That sounds interesting. I could get behind that. I have the Friday the 13th board game, and I have the Jaws. Jaws not as popular with the family, but we often play the Friday the 13th. I should have Horror Chat Matt over to play that, although his wife is not a Friday the 13th fan and would probably be bored. Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey Part 2 comes to VOD later this month, although I still have not brought myself to watch the original, even though I have heard good things, interesting things about it. I don't know. I'm not ready for that yet. And Maxine, the third in the trilogy of the X series starring Mia Goth, will be released July 5th. And I also found out this is going to star Kevin Bacon. Who knew? Or if you all knew, I didn't know. But yes, July 5th, Maxine, the third in the trilogy of the X films, which I suggest you check out. And I mentioned a while back that a third sequel to the films 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later will be getting made, and that is slated to drop in June of 2025. 28 years later, it's called, even though it's only been 17 years since we saw one of these movies last, but I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm going to have to rewatch the other two films, but very much looking forward to this. And that's horror news.
She said,
Easy, Brownie. It's only a movie.
Oh, Lordy frickin' dog!
So what have I watched this week? Well, to start, Joe Bob Briggs showed Donnie Darko from 2001, which for one reason or another I've never had the chance to see. And it is a bizarre and strange movie. The director has even been asked before what this film is actually about, and he says, I don't know. Joe Bob best described it as almost as though this director had a fever dream and made it into a film, and I agree. I loved this movie. Very bizarre, very weird, and so much open to interpretation. And this is a movie I could see myself watching again and again, and I bet you every time I walk away from it, I'd have a different interpretation. But I highly recommend to you, if you enjoy the weird, Donnie Darko. Either watch it with Joe Bob or on your own if you dare. And the other film was Under Paris, the new shark movie of the summer that everybody has been raving about. I am halfway through it. I stopped it so that I did not fall asleep, because sometimes I start these movies too late. And so far, I'm just not impressed. I don't know what everyone is seeing, but maybe the second half will be crazy good. We will see. So always remember, if you're too much of a sissy to send a voice message in, you can always just message me on my Macabre Theater page, and I can always read it. You know, it's not like that's boring. No, it is boring. So much better for a voice message. If you have an iPhone, you just record your message and then send it in Messenger. Send the file in Messenger. And that it's as easy as that. And you can be like Horror Chat Matt and Grim Kim and Scary Larry and Once in a Blue Moon Litany of Brittany.
We're just normal men.
What do you mean, normal men?
We're just innocent men.
Hey, Doc, Mark, and Karis. Hard Chat Matt here. Hey, Doc, I was just wondering, I'm sure people come up to you all the time like they do myself, knowing that we are big horror movie fans, and ask for your recommendation on horror movies. And a lot of times they don't want to see the mainstream horror flicks, such as like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, or Child's Play movies, or as they tend to call them, Chucky movies. What do you give them for a recommendation? Usually, back in the day, I would always recommend Evil Dead 2. I'd be hesitant to recommend Evil Dead 1 due to a particular tree stump scene that I feel would make most people uncomfortable. So I used to always recommend Part 2. But I feel these days, with all the other sequels that have come out, most people have seen those movies. And my backup and now current recommendation tends to be Sleepaway Camp.
Ew, seriously? That is so gross.
Feel like it's a super fun, of its time movie. Yes, the ending now, these days, is somewhat problematic for some people, but I feel if you can put yourself into the mindset of when it was made and just shut off your brain and have a good time with it, most people can enjoy it for what it is. So what's your recommendation for a cult classic or just a horror movie that's not a mainstream recommendation for people? As always, Dark Mark, keep bringing the macabre to all your legions of monster kids as we look forward to it each and every week.
Horror Chat's worried about a tree stump, but then he's recommending a movie where the person has a third leg. Well, yeah. My go-to, probably because I love Italian splatter films, would be Suspiria. That's what I would tell people. And if that's too gory for them, old school haunted house, burnt offerings all the way.
It all began as a summer vacation. A young family found a beautiful old house. It had secluded, spacious grounds, a large swimming pool, magnificent furnishings.
So you are the people who want to rent this house?
Burnt offerings.
Horrible mention. Well, it's been a few since we've done a horrible mention, and so I decided to spare you the putrid intro theme. This week is from 1988. The film is Hack-O-Lantern from director Jag Mundura, if I'm saying that right. This is about a humble grandfather that is actually leading a satanic cult who gets to sacrifice their victims on Halloween. All I can say about this mess is imagine if Mustafa Akkad had gone to India to have his precious Halloween made. Talk about people who are just out to make a buck. If you're going to make a movie about a satanic cult, at least do your research. Instead of using the sign language sign for I love you, I think they meant to use the devil horns. And even the devil horns, they're Italian. They're like the evil, ward off the evil eye. I almost feel like I've done this as a horrible mention before, and if I have, well, I apologize.
I don't know if you have or not, because this is the part of the show that I usually sleep through.
Well, there are plenty of great movies to choose from, and here's Scary Larry, to recommend one.
Is this something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Dark Mark and Karis the Little Mummy. Scary Larry here, and while I'm waiting for some new horror to hit the theaters this summer, I'm continuing down memory lane and rewatch another favorite of mine and my mom's. I'm talking about 1981's Ghost Story, based on the novel by Peter Straub. This was a star-studded cast, including veterans John Houseman, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and Fred Astaire in what would be his final performance ever. Rounding out the cast are Craig Wasson, known for his role in Body Double, and South African beauty Alice Cridge. Now, Ghost Story takes place mainly in a fictional New England town where 4 successful men who have dubbed themselves the Chowder Society, where they have gotten together for over 50 years to tell each other ghost stories. In fact, the price of admission into the Chowder Society is to wow the members with a scary ghost story. This is a major plot point to keep an eye on. Wasson plays a dual role here, as both brothers David and Don, and while the movie doesn't openly suggest they're twins, there's no mistaking it. Their dad, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., is a successful businessman who clearly prefers David over Don, and is shattered when it's reported that David fell to his death in a bizarre accident where he crashed through a window of a penthouse suite, completely naked, and crashes through the glass ceiling into a pool and landed on the deck of the pool. Now, there are some flashbacks at first glance that tend to jump all over the place, but if you're patient, it all comes together quite nicely. Now, when Don arrives back in New England, he confesses to his father that he was intimately involved with the mysterious woman last seen with David, Eva. And turns out she tried to marry both brothers, going after David after Don breaks off his engagement to her. One by one, each member of the Chowder Society is killed by this woman, or this ghost of a woman, until the near end, where we learn of a ghastly secret the elders have kept hidden all these years. Now, can Don and the 2 remaining men break the curse and free themselves from this spectral evil? Watch and find out. And if you've watched this gem, go ahead and give it a rewatch. It's available to rent on Prime. Another good horror movie that has stood the test of time. I give it 3.75 or 3 3/4 spooky stars. Have a great week.
When I first saw Ghost Story, I was probably too young, and I think a lot of it went over my head. Much more impactful when I saw it as an adult, but it has been quite a while since I've seen that scary, and I would love to revisit that film again. Excellent choice.
Is there a surprise ending, like there is in Horror Chat Matt's Sleepaway Camp?
Well, not that kind of surprise, Karis. But yeah, I guess you could say there's kind of a shocking ending anyway.
Hi, Dark Mark. Hi, little Karis. How are you?
Hi, Grim.
Hi,
Grim. I'm sitting about 30 feet from the ocean's, the shore at the ocean, so I hope you can hear me okay. I wanted to make the deadline. Going to shelf the third part of the story of Lingua and her sister till the fall, at least, because, for a variety of reasons. One being, I just don't feel like pressuring myself in a creative writing way right now. Now it's summer and I just want to hang back and enjoy. Additionally, I know that Dark Mark likes talking about the movies and things like that. So anyway, kind of touching on last week, and I'll get to that movie when we get to it. It had something to do with what Tina said, I believe. But I just wanted to mention top 5 movie, not top 5, but definitely a top 5 in my list of movies that I always think about, and I definitely want to watch again, and they were so intense that I want to watch again, but maybe I don't want to watch again, you know what I mean? But anyway, I had to come up with like a little rhymey acronym so I could even remember the top 5, because I'm in front of the ocean eating grapes, and that was my only worry until now. Okay, here we go. First one up was, they're talking about the trilogy, Unbreakable Glass Split, got me thinking about them all. I want to watch all of them again. It's been a long, long time. Of course, not that long for Split, which I really, really enjoyed. And that one just left me thinking about it, and yeah, I need to like watch them all again and tie them all together, and it was just a great performance, and really enjoyed that. The next one, I don't know, I'm sure, well, at least half of you have seen it, Viggo Mortensen in Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Oh boy, that post-apocalyptic stuff, I'm drawn to it, but I'm thinking, but why? Do I feel like being in a sad, bad mood? Like, the intensity of it, and it was just one of the most terrifying scenes to me was the scene that was simply two men in such a state of fear that, you know what I mean, one ends up humiliating the other one in certain ways, and it was just a fear reaction in this terrible state they were in, and oh my God, it was painfully beautiful to watch in a post-apocalyptic way. Let me see if you can like unravel that statement. I think a couple of you can. Okay, number 3, Requiem for a Dream. Ooh boy, I think of all the storylines on that one. I used to be stuck, of course, on Jennifer Connelly's storyline in Jared Leto, but now I want to rewatch as Ellen Bernstein, as someone who is much closer in age to her when she did the movie, and that one you'll just never forget. And what was that, a Darren Aronofsky movie? It was just so beautifully made, you know. Okay, next one I want to mention it was more of an indie movie, so some of you may not have seen it. Oh, I can't highly recommend it enough. It's called The Invitation, and there's a dinner party. Things don't go quite the way that you think they're going to go, and the story will just keep you captivated. And additionally, a friend from drama group high school, her younger brother, a couple years younger, he is in the movie, and it's just a cool tie-in too. He's from the Stoneham, Massachusetts area. The Invitation. You'll definitely recognize certain people in the movie. I want to say Drew Carey's brother's in it. I don't know. There's someone in it. Anyway. The next one I want to mention is number 5, The Strangers. Oh, fuck.
The profanity bothers you. Everybody talks like that.
They do not. What do you think I say when I go to the feed store in town? Oh, now, Wally, give me a bag of that effing pig feed and 10 pounds that bitchly cow corn. And in the bank, do I tell Mrs. Bollinger, oh, here's one big bastard of a check. Give me some of your Christing money?
I'm sorry. Bleep me, Cara. Sorry. I'm going to lump The Strangers in with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I can, I want to watch them again, but I don't know if I can. I have to see what kind of state my nervous system is in these days. I'm just getting out of a long stretch of fight or flight, so we'll see now that I'm more calm if I can handle it. The last one I group in there with Funny Games. I haven't been able to bring myself to watch it, but I think I'm going to, just for a little intensity. And that's all I wanted to drop. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day and a fantastic week. Bye.
Always an interesting ride with Grim Kim. Thank you, Grim. Great call. The Unbreakable series, I've seen them all and enjoyed them thoroughly. The Road, I've never heard of. Requiem for a Dream, believe it or not, I have never seen. So I guess you're saying I should see it. And The Invitation, if we're talking about the Dinner Guest movie, I have seen that. I did like it. Wouldn't be in my top 5 though. And The Strangers I love. That could possibly be in my top 5. I'm not happy with them rebooting that whole thing, but I do love the original first Strangers. Wasn't crazy about Pray for Night or whatever it was. But great call. Thank you, Kim. Until next time, stay on the road, keep clear of the moors, and beware the moon. But most of all, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon.
This is a Macabre Theater production.